All right, so it's 1 minute past our starting time, so I think we have waited enough. Welcome everyone to Quha Zono X introduction or introductory webinar. My name is Petri Latvarasku, and I am responsible for marketing and sales here at Quha, and I will be telling about Quha Zono for roughly 30 minutes. I will basically tell what it is and what you can do with it, and all kinds of useful details that you probably want to hear about. So what you see me wearing at the moment on my right ear is the new Quha Zono X head mouse. So the basic principle behind this is very similar to what you have seen with Quha Zono and Quha Zono 2 mice. So this is something that you use with your head movements, and basically when you move your head, you can see the cursor moving on screen. And I will also show some demonstration later in this presentation, but at the moment I will be basically telling a little bit about Quha Zono background first. So Quha Zono, it's a head mouse. It is something that you can use with your head movements, and you use it basically without any hand movement. So if you are for any reason unable to use desktop mice, you can use this one, provided that you can move still in a controllable way your head. And basically our biggest group of customers are people who have difficulties with their hand movements. There are many diagnoses for different diseases and conditions that people use this. This device is also used for ergonomic purposes in some cases, perhaps not very many. I can hear some noise in the speaker, so is there someone who has a microphone on? All right, so basically people who have difficulties with their hands, they have the possibility of using this mouse. It doesn't really matter what the condition is. Technically, of course, you can use this mouse also even if you have hand function perfect, but I would imagine that not very many people use it that way. During the presentation, feel free to shoot any questions using the Teams chat. So somebody will read the questions to me from the chat. So if you have any questions regarding Quha Zono X, feel free to ask them. And basically, this device is an MDR. So in European Union, this is a medical device. It's following the MDR classification. It's kind of just a medical device in the European Union, and it is classified as such. And we have the same classification with our Quha Zono and Zono 2 mice. Maybe a little bit about what you are getting when you are getting a Quha Zono X mouse. So I will just show these components to you and maybe a little bit explain what they are. So the actual Quha Zono mouse is this one. It's a small device with Bluetooth connection. So this connects to your mobile device or computer via Bluetooth. It's a wireless connection. Probably you have heard of it, and pretty much all the computers and tablets and smartphones support Bluetooth. This is a very small device. You may be familiar with the Quha Zono and Zono 2. This is roughly half the size of those devices, and this is usually worn using the ear clip, which I was wearing on my right ear, and it is also a very small component. And what you see here, these two reflecting dots here, they are actually metal, they are magnets. So basically when you place the Quha Zono X on this ear clip, it just snaps into that magnet. So it is really simple to do that. And with this ear clip, we also provide, this is a really small thing that I have on my hand. It is a small silicone part which you attach here. It's all for hygienic reasons. You basically just push it in this small part here, and you can replace it easily. We provide a couple of those in our sales package. And then usually the assistant of a person who uses this mouse would place this clip on the user's ear, and then you would just put the mouse on the magnetic ear clip. However, before that, what you would usually do is that you would charge the device, and we have made it very simple by providing the magnetic charging dock. Let me just connect the USB-C cable to the charging dock. So this is comes within the sales package. And when you want to charge the Quha Zono X, you just place it here on the charger, and it has the same magnetic clip as you have with the ear clip. And you can I don't know if you can see, but it starts blinking green, the indicator light, so that you know that it is charging. And once the indicator light just becomes solid green, you know that the battery is full. It takes roughly less than 2 hours to charge, so this is faster than with Quha Zono and Zono 1. And really simple. Once you can basically store this device on the charging dock. You usually would place it on a table. You store it there so it is always ready for use, and then your assistant, or if you are able to yourself do it, you would just place it on the ear clip like that. So you don't need to disconnect or connect any cables. You would just place this on the magnetic part. With the sales box, there is also this eyeglass clip with the same connection with magnets. So this is something that you would place on your eyeglass arm. This is something that you can open this, and then basically you would place your eyeglass arm inside there, and then you would just put the Zono X here, and then it would reside roughly in the same place as it is with my ear clip here, but you would wear it on your eyeglass arm. That would be a typical place to wear this. And basically, there is also a user manual, there is a warranty card, some small stuff in the sales package, but this is the most important stuff. So USB-C charging cable, magnetic charging dock, the Zono X mouse, and then 2 different attachment wearing accessories there. And the next thing you would probably do is you would probably want to pair this device with your computer. And let me just share my screen here, so I will show how to do that. So if I share my screen, let me know when you see the screen. Is it visible?
We see it, yes.
Excellent, thank you. And basically, this of course depends on the computer how you do the pairing, but on the mouse side, you basically turn it on by pressing the power button here, and it will start. You can see that there is a message on my Windows 11 computer here. It says add a device, tap to set up your Zono X. This message actually comes here because I have done the pairing already earlier, so this device has the pairing information in its memory. But if I click that and then say allow Windows to pair with Zono X, when I click here allow, it says connection succeeded, and then the cursor starts moving. Let me just place this on my ear clip here. And now you can see the cursor movement on screen, and basically it is following my head movements here. So that was so simple. Usually when you do this the first time, when you take it out of the sales package and turn the power on, it immediately goes into the pairing mode. And in that situation, you would do it so that you, in Windows 11, you would, let me just move it away. You would just click the Bluetooth icon here, show Bluetooth devices, then add device, and then you would say Bluetooth device. it would be Zono X would be on this list when you do it the first time. It's relatively simple, and of course this is something that happens differently on any single computer or operating system that you have. On Windows 11 it happens like this, and it is similar if you are doing it in Android, if you are doing it on iPads, if you are doing it on Mac OS, it is similar, but it is not quite identical. Usually how it happens is that you put the device into pairing mode, and then you look the Bluetooth settings and say that discover devices, and then Zono X will be on the list like it is here. And then you would just click it and say that yes, allow pairing, and basically that's it. It's pretty simple on systems, but it varies a little bit depending on the system. In Windows, we can also see the battery charge here, so we can see that I have charged the battery here completely. Just close the Bluetooth settings. So I think the Bluetooth setting part is relatively simple here, and basically the features that we have on the mouse are very similar to what we have in Quha Zono 2. So basically we have the accurate cursor. Let me just turn off the mouse for a while, because the cursor is probably distracting you a little bit because it is moving on screen when I'm talking. So basically we have the very same features that we have on the Quha Zono 2, so very accurate cursor movement. It is basically tracking the gyroscope inside the mouse, is tracking the head rotation. So when I turn my head left and right, the cursor moves left and right. When I move my head up and down, the cursor moves up and down. And also, just to mention that when I was sharing the screen, when you saw the cursor movement, it is because this Microsoft Teams is updating the screen something like 5 to 10 times per second. You may see that the cursor is not moving smoothly on your screens, but on this computer where I am connected to, it is extremely smooth because the cursor position is updated 200 times per second. So it is completely smooth and pixel perfect accurate. But because I'm showing it via Teams, you can see some jerkiness in the cursor movement on your ends, but here it is perfect. But it is very difficult to demonstrate this because Teams does this for anything that you do when you are sharing your screen. The basic function, big functions are here. If we are thinking of the big differences with Quha Zono and other our older mice, which we are still selling, this is obviously Bluetooth, and Quha Zono and Zono 1 or Zono 2 are using the USB receiver, so you need to utilize a USB port. Of course, then you don't need to do the pairing, so they are pretty easy in that respect, but you need one USB port in order to utilize that. And the Bluetooth is kind of very modern nowadays. This is obviously, as I mentioned, this is very small in size, and when we are thinking of the accessory compatibility, we have some differences, obviously, because this is a small, so we cannot connect the same headbands and others to this one. So accessories are for Quha Zono X are not compatible with Zono and Zono 2 accessories. So there are completely separate accessories for this mouse. Switch connections are also differences. So for example, Quha Zono 2, if you need multiple physical switch connectivity, then I would think that Quha Zono 2 is the perfect mouse for you, simply because this is so small in size, there is no room here really to place any connectors for any additional switches, and because we do not have a USB receiver, we cannot utilize that end either for connecting. So obviously with this one you can use any Bluetooth mouse buttons that you may want to buy. They are commonly available, and then of course there is also the possibility of utilizing software, which is, as we have asked our customers many times, we know that this is the most common way of of providing a mouse click. So people are using virtual mouse software, and we are providing a really good one with this this mouse. It is called Quha Dwell 2, and it comes with it is included in the sales package. And this is something that perhaps I should actually show this to you. So Quha Dwell 2. So basically this one, but it has this circular menu which is very configurable. I will not go into many details, but for example here I could just choose whatever. I could scroll things, make a double click, and this is all configurable. This comes with the same sales package. It is included with the Quha Zono X, but maybe I will not demonstrate this application in this demonstration simply because it would take me probably 45 minutes to demonstrate it, but that is included. And that is the most popular way of using the mouse clicks, and also you can scroll everything. People would typically use something like that. You don't have to use the Quha Dwell 2 with the Quha Zono X mouse. You can use any dwell clicker. You can use Grid 3, for example, if you like to do that. There are many options for different operating systems. Quha Dwell 2 works on Windows platform. What else do I have? The battery life for this one is approximately a little less than 20 hours. So it will last a very, very long working day plus some extra. So you don't really need to do charging while you are working. So when you store the device on the charging dock, it will be ready for you to use whenever you want to use it. And you have approximately 20 hours of effective use time at that point. So it should be enough. So we have made a little bit smaller battery for obvious reasons, because this mouse is physically so much smaller that the battery needs to be smaller as well. So that's the reason why the battery life is only about 20 hours and not 60 hours as it is with Quha Zono 2. But Quha Zono 2 is also a bigger device, so it has a larger battery capacity. Maybe I will at this point also show the setup software, which is also something that you can download from quha.com. So this is how it looks. So there are some options that you can choose. We have the horizontal sensitivity and vertical sensitivity. That basically means speed setting, so how fast the cursor moves horizontally and vertically. That is adjustable, so you can configure it so that you can make very large head movements or very small movements, and the cursor moves accordingly. We have here some tremor filters, meaning that by default they are off. It means that when you have accurate head movements, you typically would probably not use any tremor filters. But if you have some, let's say, involuntary shaking with your head, like your head would move a little bit like this filter will remove some of that if you are using that. And so then we have the gestures, a known feature from Zono 2 already. They are also in Zono X. So if I demonstrate, basically the setting is something that you can turn them on or off. And when they are turned on, maybe I will just demonstrate like the pause feature. So it is, you activate the gesture by first staying still for approximately 1 second, and then you make the gesture movement that you want to activate a certain feature. And for example, pause is like right, left, and let's see how it works. And then the cursor stops. So now it's in pause mode. Even if I move my head, the cursor remains stopped. And I can activate it again by moving left, right. I have to stay still for a second first. Like that. Then the double click assistant is there. So if you want to make a double click, it is useful to have this because it is double click usually requires on different operating systems that the cursor remains in one place while you make two clicks. And it is sometimes a little bit difficult to provide when you have the mouse cursor on your head and it is moving. So making two consecutive clicks in one place is sometimes difficult. So you can utilize the double click assistant there. Then we have the buzzer. I don't know if you can hear them, but there is a very small sound. I can hear it extremely well because this is close to my ear. So it will give some feedback, for example, when you have completed parts of gestures. So I can hear when I need to do. And for example, if I want to do the gesture for centering the cursor, let's see how it works. And I don't know how well the animation, I can see that the cursor centering animation is visible here on my local screen, but Teams probably doesn't show it that well. But basically I can see that the cursor is kind of approaching the center and then it stopped there. So you can center the cursor by making this kind of movement. And then there is the performance setting, depending on how you want to utilize this. Best performance basically uses a little bit more power, but it also improves the how well or how big a distance there could be between your computer and your mouse. So performance setting, typically I would imagine that you don't really have to touch this, but this is something that if you are in a, let's say, extremely in a place where there are many Bluetooth devices, you might want to increase the performance. So basically that increases the power here a little bit. And also if you want to preserve your battery life, you could use the best battery life option here. But these are basically the options that are selectable with the Quha Zono X setup application. And this is downloadable from quha.com. Just close it like that. And the audio indicator also appears when you are turning the device on or off. You can hear some audible noise or, let's say, indicator. You know that it really turned off because you hear a sound and it turns on and so on. About the compatibility. So as the Quha Zono X is a standard Bluetooth HID or human interface device, it's a standard Bluetooth mouse. It works with every single device that supports Bluetooth mice. So that includes basically all computers nowadays, all tablets, all smartphones. Basically, this works with those automatically. When you pair it with those devices, you can usually see the cursor moving on screen, and that's basically it. You can do it whatever you can. I mean, if you connect a desktop mouse to your device, then this Zono X will be able to do exactly the same that you can do with the desktop mouse. So it is extremely useful to have it perfectly standard compatible here. Well, I actually mentioned the Quha Dwell 2 software already. It is extremely useful if the user doesn't want or can't use physical switches. So that's when you really use the Quha Dwell 2 software. There is plenty of information available regarding Quha Zono X. Let me just open, so I will just show you the quha.com webpage. So when you want to, let's say, download information, there is the menu support and then downloads. And we can see that we have the Quha Dwell 2 software. You can download here, the license code is in the sales package. And then we have the Quha Zono X setup application. It can be downloaded from here. And you can always get the latest version from this page. So I recommend every now and then you might want to check if a later version is available. Then the Quha Zono X web page as such. It has plenty of information regarding the mouse. It basically compares the features between Quha Zono 2 and Quha Zono X, and then it has also the standard features that are available with Quha Zono X. Basically, I told the most important features already, and then there is the pictures. These are something that feel free to use any of the pictures available here. If you want to create a web page and you want to put it on your web shop, feel just free to pick any images from here. We have also plenty of photos here available, and we have some technical details here as well. We have videos, pictures, we have FAQ here. Kind of large amount of information is available here. Maybe at this point I would want to check if we have any questions regarding Quha Zono X.
Yes, we actually do have. So first, about the silicon part, I was hoping that it was different sizes in the box, but it is 3 of the same size.
Right. So I don't know if everyone here heard the question, so maybe I will just repeat it. It was regarding this silicone. Let me just share stop presenting so you can see. Maybe you can see this better this way. So these are the small silicone tips which you attach to the ear clip, and it is true that people have widely varying different sizes of ears, and it was. I mean, we looked into this very carefully, and this is very flexible. But I would imagine that if your ear canal is very large, then this might be kind of loose there. We know that it is possible to get these in different sizes, but at the moment we are providing it in this one size. So I would urge you, if you notice that, hey, this part is not suitable for me, can you please let us know whether it is too small or too large, or what, if there are any specific requirements. So because this is the small part here, it is really detachable, so it is extremely simple to replace. And I know that there are many different types available, and please let us know what kind of silicone part you would need. This is extremely flexible, so I would imagine that it is suitable for, I mean, everyone can fit this into their ear, but for some people it actually might be too small, but it's very difficult to say. So we have done some testing with quite a lot of people, and this was found to be very suitable for all these people. So, but if you have any specific requirements, please let us know.
Sorry, is that I assume that's a standard silicone part. It's the standard one that you would get when you buy some earphones.
Yeah, it is exactly the same that you use with headsets.
I think I agree. It would be good to have maybe a few sizes included, because, well, you don't need to put it inside your ear as if it was a headphone, I suppose. But it might still be uncomfortable if it's too large and it's tight, or loose if you have larger ears. I think that's a good idea.
So this is it is not there for the same reason as it is there for headsets. For headsets, it is there to basically block your ear canal so that noise would not come in. But in this case, I don't know if this is even visible to you, but there is a small hole there. So basically, while I'm wearing this, I can hear perfectly with my ear, because all the audio comes through that hole. So this is not used with the same. So its only purpose is to make this more stable. So it will stay better on your ear when you have something here. So it doesn't need to be tight, but the idea is that this would be, I mean, if there is nothing to support this one, even though the Zono X is not very heavy, I think it was something like 12 grams, it still is possible that you would be able to somehow tip it off if there was no support for from this one. But we have taken your feedback. Thank you for that, and we will see if there is something that we can do about this silicone chip. Thank you.
Okay. Next question is about battery life. So 19 hours, is that in power save mode or is it in normal?
Yeah, the question was regarding battery life. So and whether the power modes that are available, I showed that there are 3 different power modes in Zono X, and the question was that if the maximum promised power is in which mode. It is in the power saving mode, the maximal battery life. There is not actually very big difference. So I mean, even if you are using the high power mode, there will still be plenty of hours for doing really long work days. But we measured it with the power saving mode. So I think it was what was it called? The best performance. So it also saves the battery a little bit.
Then is there a simple left click included in Zono X? If not, Dwell software present or Quha Dwell to installed?
So the question is if there is a simple left click provided. So we do not provide at the moment a physical switch for doing the left click. We provide the software for that, and I know that the dual clicking software availability is in pretty much all the platforms built in. It is there in Apple's platform, and it is there for Android since something like Android 11. So if you want to make that click, however, I mean, watch the space. So pretty soon you will see something in this regard for Zono. But meanwhile, if somebody needs a physical switch to be used with Quha Zono X, any Bluetooth switch is available for that purpose. So that can be bought from any manufacturer. And I know because we have the buttons here at our office, we bought a couple of Bluetooth buttons here, and we know that they work properly. But we are also providing some solutions pretty soon for this. But we need a little bit more time for that.
Okay, and then there is an additional question about the power mode. So what power mode does the Zono X deliver with?
So the question was regarding the power mode. So, and it asked the default power mode. The default power mode is a kind of center. So it is kind of between the best performance and between the best battery saving mode. It is a compromise. I think that it is a very useful mode. Usually you would not have to change the power mode at all. So the power mode is something that you can pretty much forget in a typical situation. It usually works really well with the default setting. And we have basically made all the settings such that you don't really need to do any settings. So for all the operating systems, you never need any drivers. But if you want to do the settings, you can do the settings or change the default settings. And of course, the settings will be stored in the mouse memory. So if you then pair it with another device, your settings will follow you with the mouse. So you only need to do the settings once on one computer. But the power settings are really something that the center position, it's a compromise between the best performance and the best battery life, and that is the default setting.
And then there is an additional question that what is the battery life in that normal position or center position?
The battery do we have that figure? I don't think it will be, maybe a couple of hours shorter. That would be my guess, but we did not really measure it in hours. We checked how much battery it consumes or the power it consumes. It consumes a little bit more power, obviously, because there is a difference in the cursor rate and certain other things that affect that. But my guess would be, but here don't sue me, but I would guess it's somewhere around 15 hours if you put it into high power mode.
And then one more question. Where does the centering end up your screen? Because I have issues with that. It's down towards the right instead of the center.
Yeah, the question was regarding centering mode, and somebody mentioned that the cursor is not positioned exactly in the center. That may be right. So the cursor centering algorithm is kind of complicated because it needs to work on every single operating system. So there is no mouse command, generic mouse command that would say that center the cursor on the screen. So you have to do it there is a very clever algorithm here which does the centering. And depending on your screen resolution, it may end up not exactly in the center, but it is pretty close to center. But it really depends. And then, of course, in some cases, if you have, because the centering works so that it moves the cursor around the screen so that it kind of approaches the center gradually. If you have a situation when you have, let's say, lousy Bluetooth connectivity, it may drop some mouse events while they are going from the mouse to the computer, and that would affect where the cursor ends up. So, for example, if it skips something that says that move the cursor 100 pixels right, and then this, for some reason, for example, because of bad Bluetooth connection, it would not reach the computer, then your cursor would end up 100 pixels off center. But basically, it is in relatively, I think it's roughly like in the central area of the computer, but there are so many variables. It depends on your screen resolution and some other things as well. But eventually it will end up relatively centralized, but it is not necessarily perfectly centered. So we do not guarantee that it is like 1 pixel accurate in the center. But while it is doing the centering animation, usually, I mean, a person who would usually use the centering function, it is because their head is somehow like sideways and the cursor is somewhere, and they would like to use the computer, but their head is like this. So then you would center the cursor, make the gesture for centering. Then during the animation, when you see that the cursor is moving, during that you would move your head to the central position, your neutral position. And once the animation is completed, your head is centered and your cursor is centered. That's basically it. But we, as I said, we do not guarantee that it is like pixel perfect in the center, and there are many things that affect this, but it is in the central area anyway.
Okay, a few more questions. So what about Dwell, if you wish to boot between two PCs, home at work?
Yeah, so the question was if you are using Dwell and you want to move between two computers. That's a tricky one because there is no trivial way of moving the mouse between two separate computers.
So I guess this was about Dwell.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if you are using Dwell on two different computers, I don't know exactly whether the person who asked this question, are they using the same mouse on both computers?
Hi, that was me, Eric, Sweden, Picomet.
Okay.
No,
Yeah.
I was just thinking some people would want to move between different devices, maybe. If maybe bring it from work to home or to another PC. That's also why I asked if there was a built-in simple left click, because you go quite far with just a left click, like there is, I think, in Zono 1 and 2.
Correct. Yeah.
So that's why, because if I understand it correct, you need a separate Dwell software like the Quha Zono Dwell, but that's also correct. A license, and that I guess exactly. That's a one license.
Yeah, exactly. So one license is for one computer. You can move the license. I mean, if you upgrade your computer a couple of times, you can move the license to a new computer, was it 2 or 3 times? And then basically if you are using it constantly with two different computers, you would need two licenses. That's the licensing model that we are using at the moment.
Okay.
Okay, and then there is one more question. So are there any other holding systems? The ear clip may be difficult to use with motor difficulties.
Okay, the question was if there are any more wearing options than the ear clip and the eyeglass clip. Well, what should I say? Soon.
And there is eyewear clip.
Yeah, eyewear clip is there, and basically these two that come with the sales package, and then there is stuff coming pretty soon, but I cannot give you an exact date. So there will be more wearing options and also for some clipping options available. All right. Any more questions? Hey, that was plenty of questions. We don't often get that many good questions. Thank you very much for those. And I was planning to use roughly 30 minutes, and I can see that we have already used more than that. So perhaps at this point, it would be a good time to end this webinar and thank all the participants for attending. We'll see if we can make this webinar available for later viewing, whether the recording has been successful, and if it is kind of possible to put it to YouTube, then we will do so. So at this point, I thank everyone and see you at some point, and you will be hearing from us pretty soon regarding some Zono X accessories. Thank you, everyone.